What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Guarani Vision, the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me are my two great co-hosts, Fede Perez and Ralph Hannah. And guys, we're heading into almost the end of the month. Obviously, we got a couple more months until the start of the World Cup. It's unfortunate that our national teams, well, I say that the national team that we tend to cover here on Guarani Vision won't be making, but obviously here we're starting to get pumped up for the United States getting there. Obviously, Ralph has his English ties. He's getting ready to see if it's going to actually come home and not at Wembley in this case, and come home from Qatar. But obviously, we're sticking into what really has been kind of a dramatically filled weekend in the Clausura. Obviously, we saw some Paraguayans get on the score sheet in England and obviously get some playing time as well. And of course, Paraguay actually playing next week against Mexico. And I'd like to get Ralph in here on this one because him and I will be traveling to Atlanta for the game against Mexico at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Obviously, a reunion for Tata Martino taking on his former national team. And obviously, Guillermo Barros-Schelotto coming back to playing in a ground that he was a manager and at MLS playing for managing LA Galaxy. So Ralph, I'll go to you on this one first because I think it should be very much an exciting game, and we'll talk about other things in a minute. But just talking about this one, it's going to be your first Paraguay game actually on American soil because you've been to Paraguay games in Europe, you've been to the ones in Africa, obviously in South America, but now you can put in another continent to watch Paraguay games.
Yeah, there you go. My first Paraguay game in the US and also first trip to the Mercedes-Benz. So I'm excited about that because it's an awesome stadium. I guess we're not going to be full like it was an Atlanta United game, but I'm still really looking forward to that. And I think you're right that it's a game where we can have some fun and not be too concerned about the result because there's so much time between now and the next Copa America. And also this is a local team. So most of the players are going to be from the local league, maybe like, I don't know, like 80-90% of them. So we're not expecting too much. I think it's a good way to see how they can line up and kind of rub their shoulders with the Mexican team, which is also going to be a local based, a domestic team because it's all Liga MX players. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll meet a few Paraguayan fans out there as well from across the US, because I know already of a few people that are traveling from different places like yourself, Roberto, because it's further for you than me, I think, to get to Atlanta. So it should be a good atmosphere and good fun. And if anybody can bring some cheaper or something, I will happily accept.
Well, see, you got to make an asado at this point, get your grill, get it from somewhere over there in Miami and get a tailgate going, guys. I think that'd be great. And Fed, it sucks that you won't be able to be here because I think it would have been great to have you there, to be at obviously a big stadium that I'm sure you've seen a lot, obviously, during your time watching Miguel Almiron play at MLS. And, obviously it's also going to be a World Cup stadium in 4 years' time. So you'll definitely get a sneak peek of what could be the kind of environment that we'll get in 4 years' time.
Yeah, I want to hear all about it next week on the next episode, guys. Just how it was in Atlanta, that preview, that game, obviously, and that gathering, that special occasion to run into a couple of Paraguayans from all across the U.S., just like Ralph is saying, like Roberto, that's going to make the trip also. I think we're going to find a lot of stories. You guys are going to run into a lot of people probably that are from all over the country that want to be close to their Albi Roja, no matter what's going on with our national team as of this year. Yeah, it is a World Cup year and we're not going, but we do have a game. We're thinking up ahead, and it doesn't matter what's going on with your country. It's always your national team, and when it's close by, you want to go to that game, just like it happens with you guys in this occasion. I know you guys. It's not just about going to work. It's not just about watching the game. It's also about enjoying the experience, and I think you're going to find a lot of people that are going to be in the same situation. I don't know how the preview is going to be for you guys. I don't know if you're going to find cheaper in Atlanta. That's going to be kind of hard for Ralph.
You got to make it at this point. You got to make it at this point, don't you?
I remember my time in the U.S., those previews and the football games, those barbecues right outside the stadium. It's not that far away from what you see here in the stadiums in Paraguay also, where you can buy your barbecue, you can buy something to eat before you get there. But it's going to be hard to find some cheaper. It's probably going to be hard to find some during the preview, especially. I think you guys are going to need it. It's still hot over there, right? It's still summer, so it is going to be kind of a summer game in Atlanta. And in that beautiful stadium, I know the players are also looking ahead, probably not just to play against Mexico, not just to play in the national team, but probably just to play at that stadium. It's one of the best stadiums I think we have. It's just like Ralph was saying, in the continent. I would even say it's one of the most modern ones. And I'm looking forward just to hopefully see some new faces, some new names, and mixed in with experienced players, right? That's what we've seen in these practices in these last 2 weeks. Schelotto had a lot of time with these players. Well, not that much time, but at least he had 2 weeks, pretty much 5 practices in total if you put them all together. So it was an important time for him to take some advantage and know more about these players and get that Mexico game ready, Roberto. Yeah, the result might not be that important, but hey, I want to win. We really need to win, man. We're not winning lately.
No, absolutely. And for me personally, I haven't seen Paraguay win ever in my lifetime going to the game. So maybe we can finally break that streak. I've been to 10 Paraguay games in 2 different continents. I've never seen them win ever. So I need to break that streak as well. But no, instead of maybe chipa and da-da-da, I think we go for tacos and tequila instead, just to get a bit more, just to loosen up a little bit more. I think Ralph would be, and I would be.
There's gonna be a lot more of that in Atlanta. I think there's gonna be a lot of Mexicans, right?
A sea of green at Mercedes-Benz Stadium rather than the red and white. That's for sure. But obviously, we'll keep in touch and keep our updates on our Twitter handles and obviously on our social media. So make sure to stay tuned for that as we switch gears to what's been going on with our Paraguayan players as we talk now, literally a couple hours after a Paraguayan that obviously we've spoken about quite some time in Julio Enciso actually just had his first ever start for Brighton's first team. Remember, this was a player that had come in through the summer, had seen some of him in preseason. I think he got a couple of assists. He's obviously been playing in Graham Potter's team. But when the season started, he's gone 3 games without playing on the first team. As you know, Brighton have not lost those first 3 games either. But we have seen Enciso been playing for the U21 side, the youth side, in the Premier League 2, where he is playing all the games. He played against Crystal Palace in a loss, and he did reasonably well. But in the next game against Liverpool, where they tied 1-1, he was the one that scored. And now he gets his first opportunity to start for the first team under Graham Potter in this game against Forest Green Rovers in the EFL Cup, which is basically the 3rd domestic championship of England. You know, you have the Premier League, you have the FA Cup, and then you have the EFL Cup, which is basically involved of all the 92 teams of the Football League, which is the 4th divisions in England. And obviously Brighton are in there, and Forest Green Rovers are a 4th division side. So we saw Enciso get on the pitch. He played, I think, 80 minutes, but he got the assist for the second goal. Brighton won 3-0 in the end to Steven Azazi's. He got the assist for that to help Steven Azazi scored, and it's good confidence. And so, Ralph, I'll go to you on this one because obviously, you know, Brighton will be taking on Arsenal next in the next round, which I'm sure for you will be kind of a split heart for you. But in any case, before that, I think from what we see from Enciso, I think a lot of people have obviously been so expectant, especially in Paraguay, because everyone was thinking, oh, he came in with this big prize that we thought that he was going to be playing as a starter or even just getting significant minutes. But when we remember from that chat that we had with Andy, guys, you know, this is something that Brighton tend to do, that they tend to indeed go and help a player not get rushed into the first team. We saw that with players like Moises Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, and other young players who've come through Brighton. And so we're starting to see that with Julio, and Julio is getting that experience playing at the U21 level, you know, getting an idea of how English football works. And so far it's been working out well. So, you know, I personally think, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, I think it's only going to be a matter of time until he indeed is going to get minutes playing in the Premier League. But at the end of the day, it's been good so far, and there really isn't that big of a rush.
Yeah, I think it is what we hoped would happen. I think we hoped that he would get some minutes first with the under-21s and then get his chance in these games where they don't play their first team, because today's side that Brighton put out was pretty much, I'm trying to think, there was maybe one player that you might sometimes see in the Premier League sides, but none of them have started a Premier League game. So it was a very changed side. But that's what we're hoping, because then he gets his chance in a much more competitive match than the Premier League 2, which, like you say, is under 21s football for mostly. You're allowed to play some players that are over 21, but essentially it's like when he would have played under 20s in Paraguay. So I think for real competition, it was today, and he did the kind of Julio Enciso things that we could expect of him. He just picked up the ball and ran at defenders because that's what he likes doing, and he'll take shots and he'll shoot from anywhere. It didn't come off for him today. He dragged one just wide. He shot one terribly wide of his left foot. But then he gets the assist, and he assists his good friend, Steven Alzate, because although Steven Alzate speaks more Londoner than me, he's actually half Colombian. So, and he plays for the national team for Colombia, so he speaks perfect Spanish as well. And we've seen those two bonding quite a lot in the kind of Instagram and also the team news that Brighton, when they put up photos, you can see them in training together, that kind of thing. So I think that was really nice that combo happened. And yeah, for next steps, I mean, I would expect to see him against Arsenal. So he's going to get to step on the pitch at the Emirates, which I think is an awesome opportunity, because Brighton played today in the second round of the Cup because they haven't qualified for European competition. But all the teams that qualified for European competition, which of course includes Arsenal, they don't come into the Cup until the third round. So this next round now is like, it's really when all the big teams are in there, and so he'll get a great chance, I think, to play, because I would assume Graham Potter wants to do the same kind of thing. In terms of Premier League, we have to wait and see, because I know you're excited, Roberto, but I think another guy that played tonight, Mitoma, the Japanese signing, he's been very good as well, and I think he might be just above Enciso in the pecking order in terms of getting in there. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think as well, the fact that Brighton are playing very well doesn't help his case, right? We almost need them to slip up in a couple of games, or maybe to a suspension injury. But let's see. I mean, he's doing everything he needs to do. I think he's kind of handling himself very well, and he's staying true to his style, which is important, because that's why they signed him, right? They signed him because of what he was doing here, and that's running at players and shooting and trying to score.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna take that South American style out of him. I mean, you can make him more a tactical player, give him some tactical tasks, but you know, he's a magician. He has so much under him, and I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, just like I said before. And I'm not surprised that it's not taking him that long just to already get a chance in the team. I mean, Brighton knows what they take, what they took. They know they have a great player. And I think they've seen him in the practice. They've seen him in his first games, and they know what they're doing and just how fast they have to take him and just how much minutes they have to give him. And thankfully, the season is long in the Premier League, so he's going to get his time. But yeah, for Enciso, he's probably been waiting for these games also. So he's probably been very anxious. So it's good for him to get it out of his system, get that first assist. I'm waiting for his first goal also, you know, get all those first things in quickly. I remember Almiron had some trouble getting that first goal in Newcastle, and that took him some time. So it's always good that as soon as you get there into a new place and you want to show everything that you have. I was even remembering some people were saying that, you know, sometimes he just likes to do way too much and he just likes to show off. But, you know, it's just kind of part of his style also. He has so much under him, and I think he's going to have great games along the season. It's not going to be easy for him because the surprise for me is just how well Brighton is right now in the Premier League, just starting off. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep it up, obviously, but with Enciso there, he's going to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to come along the way. And I'm looking forward to that Arsenal. I'm gonna buy my jersey. I'm gonna go against Arsenal on this one. Obviously, Brighton. I'm getting into the season already, especially because Julio Enciso is coming in. Roberto, when we got that first news that he wasn't gonna be in that first game against Manchester United, you know, everybody was down here. Everybody was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to wait so long now." And hey, just 2 games later, here we have him in the Carabao Cup, and he already had an impact on the game.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, of course, Brighton have been doing so well. They beat Manchester United, they beat West Ham, they tied Newcastle. We'll talk in a minute. But yeah, I think that's the case, Ralph. It's like, it's almost as if, with this Brighton team who,
They
have always
haven't
punched
needed
above.
Julio Enciso yet.
Well, yeah, that's, in a way, it's also a win-win, at least, because he's on a good team. And, I think obviously he's getting minutes somewhere else. And like you said, it's a big competition, mind you. They still have to play FA Cup, and that's not till January, I think. So, he got a lot of time there for him. I think, I think eventually, and this is what Potter likes to do, and we remember that chat we had with Andy, I think he is going to, rotate a lot. And obviously Brighton have used the same lineup, literally the exact same 3 games, the same starting lineup. So for them, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they do have some games coming up. Obviously, they take on Leeds, they take on Fulham, and then they take on Leicester as their next 3 until September. So games will come and go. And I think, obviously, this is important because you got 3 games happening in a span of a week. So I think rotation is going to be so important for this side. So maybe we see Enciso get on the bench, maybe get some minutes, but it'll come. I'm very much optimistic. We'll see what happens. But let's switch gears now to another Paraguayan who, let's be real, I think have expected a lot, because this is the player that has been, kind of the flag bearer for players in the Premier League, and that's Miguel Almiron. Miguel Almiron obviously is also going through a good start this season. Actually, they're currently in 6th place because they first won their first game against Nottingham Forest 2-0 and tied Brighton 0-0, where Miggy was the starter. He played almost all the minutes. And then the big one, the big game against Man City over there at St. James's Park. A lot of people was talking about how this was kind of the reunion between him and Jack Grealish after all the comments that was made from him when City won the Premier League. Grealish, I think, obviously chickened out, because we didn't even see him on the bench. He was obviously out due to an injury, but that did not faze Miggy at all, as obviously Miggy ended up scoring his first goal, kind of a weird goal, actually, because you see the cross from St. Maximin, he hits it with his knee. Everyone was celebrating, but then everyone was looking at saying, wait a minute, is it offside? And then you just saw the reaction that was given from all the fans over there at St. James's Park. And obviously for him, they were winning at 1.31, but then obviously tied 3-3. But Fede, obviously, result aside, that must have been the perfect result and motivation that Miggy needed, because I think, obviously getting that goal, like you had said beforehand, how it took him so long. I think for this case, now that he finally gets it a bit sooner in his 3rd game, remember it took him a long time to get his first goal last season. Now he's breaking his duck, and he's now starting to obviously be a player on a team that is obviously going to get better with time, but he's showing that, no, I want to be here and I want to be a vocal part of this team.
This is beautiful. It's great to see it happening, just to see him bounce back after what happened with the national team. That must have happened. That must have been easy for him. Getting over the situation that he's not going to be in the next World Cup, that he couldn't take his team, his country to the World Cup, which was part of his mission. And I think he got over that pretty fast during the preseason. We kind of saw that already, that he was really into his club, that he was scoring, and that Miggy was back. And when I say Miggy is back, I mean Miggy from Atlanta, Roberto, this guy that was scoring in pretty much every game, this guy that was causing impact. And he was just one more star in the team. And that's what I'm seeing now in Newcastle. Newcastle has way better players this season. You can see it just from the starting lineup. And St. Maximin is a star in this team also. And when those 2 guys are doing their thing, it's really hard for the opposing team. And so I even heard Guardiola talking about these 2 players after the game. So it was a headache for the Manchester City players. And I'm happy to see Almiron scoring, just to be treated like an idol also in Newcastle, showing banners of him. Props to that kid that had that sign asking for his jersey on halftime. That was a beautiful picture. Everybody was talking about that here in Paraguay also. We love to see these guys do it big. We love to see these guys do well. And I think Almiron is ready to have his best season yet, right? This is the best start that he could have gotten. He's playing. The coach has confidence in him, and not as much as Steve Bruce had. So I'm really happy about what could happen this season, especially seeing him scoring so much and close to the goal. I mean, he's getting opportunities now. He's not playing in a defensive role like he was before. So he's playing and attacking, and this is the Almiron I want to see. I want to see him and Julio Enciso in the next friendlies also, because after we play Mexico in a month from now, we're going to be playing friendlies also in Europe. So there we might get a chance to see these players coming together and playing. Right now, as of right now, they're doing really well in England.
Yeah, it's I'm looking, as you were talking, I was looking at a couple of things I think are really important. One is he's averaged 85 minutes per game so far. So it's not just that he's starting the games, he's being used for almost the whole time. There was a period where you saw Almiron being often the first sub, right? Which usually happens around 60 minutes in those few games he did start.
And when he leaves the pitch, he's over, Ralph. I mean, he leaves everything out there.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see how that's appreciated by Eddie Howe. Also today, I think it was today, right, that they played Tranmere in the League Cup, and the contrast to Enciso, he was on the bench but didn't come on because they didn't need him. So he's considered one of those first teamers that they wouldn't risk in a game like this against lower league opposition. So that's like his pecking orders right there. And then a couple of things he's doing differently is looking at his heat map. He's playing on the right. So again, we like to see him in the middle where you can, but he's much more occupying the right-hand side, but he's nearly almost in the final third, the opposition third. That heat map is like totally different to when we saw him under Steve Bruce and was having to do so much more work defensively. And he's averaging 1.7 shots per game so far. So he is getting in those positions to shoot. So I think it's like you were saying, Fede, it's like we're seeing him attack, and we're seeing that's where we know he's much better doing that kind of work. And he's in a team that's playing well. So he's got that support. I mean, playing mostly he's drifting out onto the right-hand side, and then he has Kieran Trippier behind him. So he's got a very quality fullback to back him up as well. So I think just that whole kind of combination of his manager's trust, he's in a position he likes to be in more, and then he's got more quality players around him is really going to help him. So it's good. And now we don't want him to leave, right? Because there was a rumor that he was linked to, I think, Everton or something. But I would hope he doesn't make that move, because it wouldn't make sense.
It'd be a downgrade, honestly.
Have a better team? Everton have a better roster right now? I don't think so.
Right now, no, absolutely not. I disagree. I mean, Everton, for me, I think they're one of the candidates to get relegated because there's just a lot of instability. Yeah. So, I mean, I think now, obviously, and you see these performances, I don't think, obviously, Newcastle are probably going to do some business to the end of the transfer window, but you think that Miggy has got his spot in for now, and that come the next few games, he's just going to have to continue to earn it, because that's it. It's like, it's for him, it's these games to really impress and to allow Eddie Howe to continue to trust him that he could be a starter for the entire season. So yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes with him. Obviously, got some couple games getting on. I think it's good that he's not on this national team heading into this break. So obviously he's going to be playing a lot more. So we'll see. We'll definitely see if he is able to, continue to get the goals and the assists if he can. See if Enciso can finally get some minutes in the Premier League as well. So pretty good week, I'd say, for both the two guys in England, as we switch gears now to obviously our local league in Paraguay, because I think, guys, I think, it's so interesting to really see how a league can be so competitive at the same time and just completely turned around. I mean, I think for once we can actually feel as if though we can be right on our predictions, because as we speak, obviously the Clausura is still going strong in its 7th game of the season. At the time of recording, Libertad are currently top of the league with 15 points, tied with Olimpia only by goal differential. Libertad is leading 4 goals. But Cedro dropped points on the weekend where they were actually winning to Club Guarani, only for them to tie in the 87th minute due to a Nestor Camacho penalty kick. But with that, they are currently in 3rd with 14 points, followed by Nacional in 4th with 12 points, and then Tacuaru actually with 11 points to round up the top 5. I mean, Fede, we continue to talk about Cedro's struggles and the way that, everything's just getting completely I would say, heated on Chiqui Arce. The pressure's on them. I think we even saw like a protest from fans outside I think it was the stadium or like one of those like areas. Yeah. So things are not looking good for Cedro, and we've spoken about it for quite some time. It's continuing to go on and on. It's like a big domino effect. What's up with them? I honestly, if I'm an Olimpia fan or a Nacional fan or even Libertad fan, I would be very, very confident that I could go and probably contend for this Clausura title. But if you're a Cedro fan, that optimism is going way, way down now.
Yeah, as of right now, I would say they haven't been able to win. I mean, I think that was the big issue on this last game, especially against Guarani, because just like you said, I mean, they were winning pretty much the whole game, and they lost it. They gave a penalty away right at the end of the match, and Guarani pretty much celebrated a tie in Cerro Porteño Stadium. If they would have won, the week would have probably been a lot calmer. The fans would have probably given a breather, especially to the players that have been criticized just because of the way they've been playing lately. I mean, this is pretty much a roster that we've seen play a lot better in other years, and I think that's where the fans are after these players. Just because you've seen them play a lot better before, and they're not at the top level right as of right now, and some players are not behaving either. I mean, Carvajal, the Colombian, came in late last time that he was called in to concentrate, and that was kind of weird, in a time as it is right now in Cerro Porteño, where everybody's questioning everything that's been done, and everybody's in top of you. You can't make mistakes, and you got to be on your top shape. You got to be on your top game, and we're not seeing that out of certain players. I mean, Claudio Aquino hasn't had his impact on games lately. Yeah, he made the assist on the last game, but that's just pretty much it. That's all he's contributed in these last 3 games, and this hasn't been enough for one of the stars in this team. And then you have Chiqui Arce's decisions also in certain players, as in keeping Marcelo Moreno Martins in the team so much, and he hasn't been able to score as many goals as fans were waiting out of him. So you put this all together, and it's this situation. It is with certain drama, and with Chiqui Arce, there is a lot of history also. Every time we talk about this coach, it's everything that happened with the national team. He has certain history also in Cerro Porteño, and I think those big losses in the year, just like I said on the episode before this one, I think those ones are the ones that are really hurting on the fans, and that's why some are just like, I'm done with this project. I don't want to wait 3 more years. This isn't working as of right now, and they want it over. For now, they're giving more time because the team is still up there. They're fighting for the title. So I think the title race has just gotten better and better in these last games. I mean, after Olimpia beat Cerro Porteño, they're back into the tournament. Libertad has won pretty much all their games after they lost a couple at the beginning, and they're looking sharper and sharper. They got so much players. You got Berlini lately heating up. You got Tacuara Cardoso coming in and pretty much scoring on every game. So Garnero has no problems picking players as of right now in Libertad. He's only getting solutions. And Nacional, I would say, is the team that kind of let me down in these last games. They had the chance. They had the chance to play against Cerro Porteño. They had the chance to play against Libertad, and they were kind of far away as of having the level to really be up there. So the way I see it is between those three teams: Libertad, Olimpia, and Cerro Porteño, and in that order. Rob, I don't know if you think differently.
Wow. Well, I agree with Cerro in third because I think as we're talking about them, I mean, their real problem's been, it's almost like it's like a fatigue, and then the goal scoring has suffered behind that, because they just look very flat, right? Like they just don't have kind of that spark, and you don't really see them when in games. You don't see them kind of resolving the game and winning the game. They don't seem to have many answers, and within themselves they can't really find that. And the manner of the draw against Guarani was very disappointing for them, because it was just they finally had managed to get a breakthrough, and then they gave away a very kind of silly penalty, and that was their chance gone just at the end. Now they have a trip to the east. They're in Ciudad del Este. They're playing. They just got there today, as we record Wednesday. They're playing on Friday, so they haven't had much rest between that time and now they have to travel the longest distance you can travel in Paraguay, basically, for a game. So it's really piling. The pressure is really piling on top of them. Even worse, they're facing General Caballero, that's managed by Gustavo Florentin, who knows Cerro very well. He probably coached some of those players because he used to coach in the very young level. He got a chance also at the senior side, but he's probably did some of those players when they're like under 15s or something. So he knows that team well. So it's looking very difficult. And then the difference, right, with Libertad and Olimpia, Libertad seem to be coming into it now. They really seem to be finding that form that took them to the record points total last year. They're scoring very easily between Roque Santa Cruz, Lorenzo Melgarejo, even Diego Gomez has been finding goals from the field. So they're starting to really come into it. And so it might be more a case of can Olimpia hold on because to Libertad and keep up with them. I mean, Olimpia did well at the weekend with their 2-0 win, and they just keep finding those results through Julio César Cáceres that we talked about before, like very direct and effective. So I agree it's between those three. I can't see Nacional, the style that they play with Sarabia is very difficult to win a title. They're good at making themselves hard to beat, but I don't think they're going to be able to get enough points to really be in there. So I agree with you. I think it's those three, Cerro in third, and then between Olimpia and Libertad, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have to say, guys, when is it time to take Cerro out of that discussion? You know, I mean, the way that they're performing, they're probably very likely.
I would say probably in 3 games they play Libertad, and that could be the decider, right? If they might even lose these 2 now against General Caballero and Resistencia coming up, but in 3 games time they have Libertad, and I think at that point, if they were to lose that game, then it would be too much. They'd be out of it.
Yeah, that's the big match. That's that in the calendar. I think they have it marked right there in the locker room. I mean, they got these 2 games ahead, but they have to beat Libertad. Just because that's been the big opponent the whole year, and Cerro Porteño lost the Super Clásico already, and that's had a big impact in the locker room with the fans, and they have to win a big game, Roberto. Yeah, they can win in Ciudad del Este now against General Caballero, just like they won Ameliano. Last time they won actually was in Ciudad del Este against Ameliano, and now they're going to go back to that same stadium to try to get that smile back, but it's not going to be enough if they beat General Caballero. I mean, they need to beat Libertad. They need to beat the big teams and do it in big style. You know, it's just like they did in the Apertura. They beat that team 4-0 in Cerro Porteño Stadium. They need to get another big win like that to get the fans with them again, because it's not good to see the fans, the barra bravas, as they call them here, the hooligans, going to the practices, putting the pressure, trying to talk to the players, pretty much trying to run the show and pretty much trying to tell everybody what needs to be done. I mean, that's what's pretty much happening in Cerro Porteño. That's what pretty much happens in the big teams here in South America. When things are not going well, those guys always come around.
Absolutely. And mind you, they also have to score goals. You know, only 8 goals this season in 7 games in comparison to Libertad's 19 and Olimpia's 13. Nobody. And especially from the players that, you know, I think a huge chunk of their goals came from Morales, but obviously he's not there. And, you know, you see players coming around from everywhere, from Marcelo Martins Moreno and Alan Rodriguez, Alfio Oviedo, and so on. But that's it. No one really else is really stepping up. So, you know, it could be even a case of them trying to change tactically how they go their approach. But I wanted to close off obviously with Libertad and Olimpia now, because, you know, those two are really much in great form. Like I mentioned, scoring goals obviously are, you know, teams that are looking good so far, really tied up there. The big game obviously is on September 11 when they do take on each other. So or at least, around that weekend, obviously. So it'll be a while for them. But if you had to put your money on a team right now that heading into that Olimpia Libertad game and looking at obviously the two games, the schedule that both teams have leading up to that game, if I'm a fan, which team do you feel that you would be more comfortable in, not comfortable, but more confident in hoisting that Clausura title? But I'll go to
That's
you
a hard
first.
one, Roberto. Actually, I'm going with Libertad just because it's been the more stable team with the whole year. I mean, Garnero has just found solutions. He gets players injured, and he has 2-3 already waiting there. And they're top level players. I mean, he's even gotten players that I didn't even think we were going to see this year, like Diaz, the Chilean player, the midfielder. I mean, he's been playing a lot more than I thought he was going to end up playing in this 2022. So Garnero has actually surprised me, and even putting young players also, just like Ralph was saying. I mean, the impact that the midfielder is having there also, and even taking it to the national team now. I'm really happy about that, and we're seeing the best Roque Santa Cruz. We're seeing the best Oscar Tacuara Cardoso. That they're taking care of business right in front of the goal. So if they're scoring, it's going to be even harder for any defense that comes that way. The good thing about Olimpia is that right now, I think they found their defense. It was probably a place where they had a lot of trouble during the whole year, but apparently Julio Cesar Cáceres finally found his starting defense, and it kind of surprised me there with Saúl Salcedo and Mateo Gamarra, who also made it to the national team for his first time. So it's a good time as of right now for that defense, and alongside with their very good goalkeeper, the Uruguayan Olveira, who has left behind Aguilar, who was also always a player that was considered for the national team. So Olimpia is in a good spot, but I think just overall, Ralph, as of right now, the way I see it, Libertad has just way too much. If you put them alongside Olimpia and Cerro Porteño.
Yeah, I was letting you answer first because it is a tough question. I think ultimately I do agree with you because of the league and the amount of games that are played. Then a team like Libertad or a squad like Libertad is holding the advantage. But I do think, I mean, Olimpia would. If they were able to keep those players fit, which is a big if, then they do have a good chance because they've molded that defense together. They've got Richard Ortiz when he's fit is keeping that midfield ticking, and then you have Derlis Gonzalez up front, who's of the quality of kind of the Roque and Tacuara, right? He's up there in that kind of level. So that kind of 11v11. It's almost very balanced, but I think when it comes down to it, you're going to assume there will be some suspensions, there will be some injuries. I mean, Olympia's already had an important injury to Hugo Quintana, so those things affect you, but it's going to affect Olimpia more than Libertad because of the strength and depth that Fede was talking about. So I mean, if gun to my head time, then I'll go for Libertad to be back-to-back champions, which is a very impressive feat. And I think I have to check my stats, but I think it would take Garnero to record territory. I think only one person will have won more leagues than him, which is Cubilla, assuming he was to win now. I'd have to check that, but he's right up there. He's won so many titles now.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Rubén Israel, who was for a long time manager of Libertad, and he only kept that role because he was winning championships pretty much one after the other one. And the same thing is happening with Garnero now in Libertad, being so successful. And we're not only going to see these teams go face to head in the local league, Roberto, we're also going to see them in the Copa Paraguay. So they're going to go up against each other a couple of times.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be a case of, what team really stands out better, which one has better quality. And I agree with both of you. I think Libertad are the favorites right now, obviously being reigning champions, but obviously being a team that just does not look to be stopped at the minute. So, yeah, I think I have to agree on that and see what happens there in these next few games, obviously in the Copa Paraguay as well, because I think that's going to be a real test to show how good they are from from a depth standpoint as we close out another great episode of Guarani Vision. Obviously, keep an eye on me and Ralph's social media as we'll be traveling to Atlanta and keeping you all the coverage out there for the Paraguay-Mexico game. For myself, Roberto Rojas, Fede Perez, and Ralph Hannah, thank you so much for listening in. See you soon.